Hi guys, I am Vignesh Ganesan from Kaleri.in e-learning platform. Now I am going to explain this spinner decor model. Starts from mainframe design. Select a top plane and create new sketch. Draw one square profile. Choose a center point rectangle now. Draw a rectangular profile and use the smart dimensions. To fix these dimensions of horizontal value is 300 mm. Same as like a vertical value. So hold your control button, selecting a both profile and specify equal to constraints. Exit this dimension now and initiating the values of either 50 mm or 25 mm. First I mentioned a 50 mm of value. Laterally we change that if it is based on this assembly also. Then select the top face and create new sketch. First we need to draw an angular line at the top of its edge positions by connecting two different edges based on this angular line. Once we draw this particular line profile, then fix this up to the recommended dimensions. So using a smart dimensions, to fix this profile. Afterwards, from this reference line, we are going to mirror it all four different corners. What is the specified dimensions value? It is 50 mm. Then the angular dimension is 45 degree. Okay. Let's using a mirror entities to selecting the entire profile, then using a mirror about to mirror this profile from left to right. Again, choose a mirror entities, selecting this entire profile from the mirror about and selecting this horizontal reference. All four different corners, we have an additional line profiles. Now, draw an line by connecting two opposite center point. Once you connected a line profile between that, selecting this particular point as well as this line, hold your control button, then use the midpoint constraints to fix it on the center of its positions. Now I am going to pick this fillet options, initiate a filleting value of 50 mm, then selecting this two opposite line to make a new fillet formations. Again, draw an angular line, selecting the same as like to this opposite reference area. Once it is fixed, choose this point again, fix it using a midpoint constraints. Selecting a two opposite angular line profile, then fix it with this angular constraints of 50 mm. That is a 50 mm radius value. Once we draw this reference line profile, then using an offset entities, specify the dimensions of 15 mm and initiating a type of bilateral, that is bidirectional type. Same as like choosing an offset entities, selecting this opposite line profile using a bidirectional type to create an offset entities at both directions. Then initiating the new value of 30 mm, selecting this same kind of an profiles, two opposite one. Then uncheck this select chain. Also initiating a new distance of 15 mm. Also uncheck this bidirectional type. Create a new opposite line up to this area. Same as like create a new opposite line at this opposite positions. Then draw one vertical line. From this intersections of this mirror point, draw one vertical line. Again, same as like draw one another vertical line to this opposite reference. First, selecting this opposite endpoint and use an horizontal constraints also. Then selecting this particular point to fix it coincide. Draw another opposite line from this opposite area. First point is fixed with the top of its area using a coincide constraints. Next, draw another line profile, same as like an opposite one. Just to draw one vertical line again, selecting both the point and using horizontal constraints to fix it linear. Now, using a trim entities to remove number of these profiles. Using a trim entities to remove whatever the edges which is an additional profiles. Before that, just to draw one horizontal line and fix it with this height of 85 mm vertically. Once it is fixed, then using a trim entities to remove the excess number of the portions one by one. Selecting each of its every individual area, remove each of its entities one by one. First one, second one, whatever the excess the entities we have, trim it one by one. Now choose this particular reference points one by one. I carefully eliminate the excess number of the entities to make a perfect projections at the right amount of area. This is also one of its excess portions. Then remove this top area. Before that, we need to draw and closing some of its profiles. Then only we can able to remove these top entities. So get back by undoing these sections and draw one line profile by connecting two opposite points. Same as like draw one line to connecting opposite endpoints at the opposite sections. Now using a trim entities to remove the excess number of the portions one by one. One by one, just removing the excess number of the entities area. Once it is completely removed, also remove the excess number of the portions at this intersecting area. If you just removing these entities, automatically we get this kind of an errors. Don't get confused. Remove whatever the excess number of the entities first, then choosing this offsetting portions, selecting it and delete it now. Offsetting is the primary error. Also, the additional one is a numerical values. Once you delete this number of the portions, now I am going to delete this offsetting value of 50 mm radius. Same as like an opposite portions. Once it is trimmed, now choose this particular portions, initiating this equal number of the radius by selecting its opposite profile. This point is not constrained inequally. So now selecting each of its every point and fix it tangentially because we delete these offset entities and initiating the new kind of a geometrical constraints on this particular profile. Both the geometrical constraints as well as the dimensional constraints on this particular area. So now selecting the two opposite line, mention the parallel constraint. Same as like an opposite one, mention the parallel constraints. Then initiating the dimensional value. The dimension is 15 mm. So mention 15 mm. Look at it. Each of its every individual profiles it's fixed one by one. Mention 15 mm of value. Again, choose the smart dimensions, then fix this with this horizontal dimensional constraints. It is almost the same value from the left one. Instead of picking the dimensions from the bottom one, first selecting this point and initiating a tangential constraints. All that we are going to apply a geometrical constraints here because numerical value is not working in these positions. It is create a new kind of an error on this area. So we just eliminated and initiate a new constraints one by one. Almost selecting this line profile, then mention the parallel constraints. I am going to connect the two opposite points and fix it with this perpendicular constraints. Look at it, almost all profiles is fixed now. Let's fix this particular point. It is also mentioned with a primary perpendicular constraints. Now this point is also fixed. Mention this parallel constraints. The entire profile is now fixed. Only thing is we need to close this bottom points. First one, start point, end point. Second one, start point, end point. Once it is completely fixed, then we need to remove the excess number of the portions. The profile is the primary one. We need to remove the excess number of the area. So instead of picking an additional option, choose flip side to cut. It automatically removes the outer portion excluded from this current profile. Okay, now applying the fillet at the top of its portion. Either we can apply a 50 mm of fillet or compared to our previous one, that is a 20 mm from the side radius, apply a same kind of radius at the top one also. So choose this fillet features, edit it and initiating the same value of 20 mm. Once it is completely formed, now the primary main frame is designed. Either you can apply a fillet at the corner portion or you can simply position this particular features into it. Next, we are going to design this bottom support. It is a simple profile only. Selecting this front plane, create a new sketch, draw one vertical, that is a closed rectangular profiles. Using a corner rectangle, I just draw a closed rectangular profile. Then draw one vertical construction line from the center of its origin point. Once we draw a vertical construction line, then selecting the smart dimension, then initiating the number of the values we have. First one is 50 mm, that is an overall diameter value. Then the overall diameter is 300 mm also. Once it is mentioned, the horizontal portion is almost fixed. Selecting this point right now, that is choose this particular point, hold your control button, selecting this origin point, then fix it with this horizontal constraints. Then what is the vertical dimension? It is almost nothing but 50 mm of value. Now draw a center point rectangle from this outer line profile. Once the center point rectangle is almost drawn, now choose this particular point to fix it linear. Then selecting this both vertical line and choose an equal constraints. Almost we fixed this particular number of the profiles. Then fix it equally, each of its every individual profiles. Why I am applying this equal constraints to all kind of a vertical line as well as a horizontal line? Means because once we fixed one particular profile, it is easy to fix the other rest of the profiles also. Let's give the vertical dimensions. It is also the same 10 mm of value. Almost the entire profile is fixed. Only thing is we need to position these profiles. Exit the sketch, choose a revolved boss and selecting these particular positions under the selected contours and choose this vertical construction line. Almost a solid body is created. Okay, let's form another support. First support is created. Now bottom support 2. It is also a simple design only. Draw one vertical line that is a closed T-shaped positions. Once we draw a complete profile, then fix it with this value. That is a numerical value. Also draw one center line because we are going to revolve the solid body. From the center line, measure the dimensions, horizontal dimensions of 180 mm. Again, the vertical dimension is 60 mm from the top positions. From the bottom position, it is also 50 and 50 mm. Then fix this particular area under 50 mm of value. Exit the sketch and using a revolved boss to create a complete solid body. This secondary support is also created. Now the next one is spinner. It is also a simple design only. Draw a circular profile, then fix it with this value of 10 mm. Exit the sketch and create a solid body using an extruded boss and we initiate the dimensions of 250 mm. Afterwards, selecting a front plane and draw an angular closed line profiles. From the point, draw an angular closed line up to its endpoints, then fix it with this dimensional value of 45 degree. Mention with this value from the point and fix it to this opposite area. Exit the sketch right now. Then remove this number of this portion using a trim entities. Select through all both type to remove this outer area. The spinner is also designed. Now start with a full assembly. Once we open this assembly, now choose an insert components to insert the whatever the components we want to assemble it right from this area. Bottom support 1, bottom support 2, main frame and spinner model. Selecting it and insert the number of the components into this assembly. First, insert the primary component, that is a bottom support 1, next to bottom support 2, next one is a spinner and another type is a mainframe. Once we insert the number of the components into the assembly, then fix it one by one. First, right click on the main body to float this body on the location. Then using a plane to fix it on the origin of its area. That's why I just float this component and fix it one by one from this origin. And select a front plane. From the front plane of this component, fix it by using often coincident constraints. Then choose a top plane to fix it on the bottom of its positions. Once it is completely fixed, then fix this bottom support 2. Then fix this bottom support 2 on the primary bottom support 1. First select the cylindrical faces on the two opposite solid body. Fix it. Then select this bottom one as well as a top face. Bottom face as well as a top face to fix it coincide constraints. Let's fix this main frame into this primary features. Fix it by using often advanced constraints only. Laterally we fix the spinner actually on this positions. Choose a mate. Now go to this main features. Select this particular plane. The plane is almost the top faces. Instead of choosing a plane, I am going to pick these faces. Right click, clear selection, choose an advanced type and prefer this symmetry type. Select the two opposite flat face. Now, then the symmetrical plane is nothing but a front plane or a right plane on the bottom primary support area. So choose this front plane. Almost it is positioned. Check OK. Now select the right plane from the primary support. Then select the right plane on the main frame. Fix it using coincide constraints. Then we going to select the bottom faces on this first body. Then selecting the bottom faces on the secondary body. It is almost fixed within each other. Okay. Now exit the sketch. Let's we fix the spinner properly in an angular positions. Select this component, open it on into the spot designs, choose the top faces and create new sketch. Draw an angular center line at the top of its faces. Fix this with this recommended angle. Now choose this point as well as an origin point to fix it vertically. Then choose the smart dimension as well as a point. We get a quadrant. Here we have a number of the quadrants. One is a vertical quadrant, another one is a horizontal quadrant. Instead of picking this vertical quadrant, I am going to select this horizontal quadrant point on the right of its positions. Then fix it with this angular value of 78 degree. Exit the sketch. Let's create the plane by using of two opposite reference point. First point and second point. Then select the top faces to create a new plane from this three different references. Once we create this three different references from this plane, let's select a mate type, choose this bottom of its faces, also the top faces of this bottom support too. Click OK. Afterwards, I am going to align the spinner into this plane. So select a plane first, right plane, front plane. Choose a front plane now. Then select a new plane type on the bottom support 2. So just go to this top of a specification tree, then select a bottom support 2 and choose this plane holding your control button. Then prefer the mate type. Almost it is mated with this exact positions. Now check OK. Afterwards, we just position this overall model. So select a point as well as the edges to mate it equally. Once it is perfectly mated, we are going to edit the features. Almost it is 50 mm. I am going to edit these features with a new 25 mm of a thickness value. So selecting this particular solid body, open the part and choose this particular positions under boss extrude. Then change the value of 25 mm. Otherwise, it is collide within each other to cause an interference detections. Almost we complete the entire assembly right now. If you spin this spinner design, it does not interfere at any of the positions. It is perfectly spin at all kind of under 360 degree to get a complete product under that. This is one of the simple decor, but we need to fix it carefully into this model. That is what the exact thing. Thank you.